hands. And in this section that we consider a wife urged to change disposition, not the marriage status, we have these two quotations we have quotation letter 168 from 1901 and letter 157, 1903. Here is a mistake from my side. It's 137, but it's 157. Sorry about that. Okay? So, says, you must both study how you can assimilate instead of differing with one another. The use of mild, gentle methods will make a surprising difference in your lives. So this is the section that belongs to the case of Harper, this last paragraph. So this is the message sent to the second wife of Harper. And in this letter is in big contrast with the letter that she wrote to the first wife. That to the first wife, she understood her, she realized how difficult that was because of the condition of her husband. But to this second wife, she recommended to do everything possible that they live together in peace and harmony. So it's a completely different perspective of the situation. And we have already mentioned which was the difference. So again, we find here a completely violation of the structure originally given in the letters. So let us go to the next one that we have here. And this is this subject, Sister Kerely, is a wife urged to change disposition, not the marriage status. So it's the first quotation under this subtitle. Okay? Then say, I have received a letter from your husband. I will say that there is only one thing for which a husband may lawfully separate from his wife or a wife from her husband, and that is adultery. Did you read divorce somewhere here? Related with adultery?
No.
It's a synonym in the law of this country at this time. And divorce is there. Divorce is here. If we consider the former version, if we go to the first letter included here, to Dr. Gibbs, if you remember, we have considered this, then it's clear that need to be this case. If your dispositions are not congenial, will it not be for the glory of God for you to change these dispositions? A husband and wife should cultivate respect and affection for each other. They should guard the spirit, the words, and the actions so that nothing will be said or done to irritate or annoy. Each is to have a care for the other, doing all in their power to strengthen their mutual affection. I tell you both to seek the Lord in love and kindness. Do your duty one to the other. The husband should cultivate industrious habits, doing his best to support his family. This will lead his wife to have respect for him. So we see here that this is another completely different situation. And this is a letter to Sister Kerely because she was working day and night to bring food to the children. And the husband don't took care of anything. So both were members of the church. So all the burden was upon her. And he enjoyed life. So Sister White said this is not correct. So first, it's not a reason to separate. What we need to do is to correct the things that are wrong. So he, the husband, needs to develop habits of industry, that he is the one to take care of the house, and then his wife will respect him, because if he is not able to do nothing, is able but is not willing to support the family, to work, and to do everything that the family progress and have everything that is needed, then the wife took this role and therefore don't respect him anymore. So she analyzed here that the problem was he was irresponsible. She took the responsibility and then she irrespect him because of this. So in both cases was wrong. So he needed to change, she needed to change, both. So a correction was needed, but is out of question any kind of separation or divorce. So we see here that it's a completely different context that don't belong here, okay, this other case. Let us go to the next subtitle. And the problem is that in different versions they have changed the things, unfortunately. But let us go to this English one. But in Spanish is another one, came not this one now. Yeah, but let us follow the English. Then we will consider this after. Then we have this one that is a manuscript and after appear also in Review and Herald. So this is adultery, divorce, and church membership. In regard to the case of the injured sister A.G., we will say in reply to the question of blank that it is a feature in the cases of most who have been overtaken, no real sense of their villany. Some, however, do and are restored to the church, but not till they have merited the confidence of the people of God by unqualified confessions and a period of sincere repentance. This case presents difficulties not found in some, and we will add only the following. First, in cases of the violation of the seventh commandment, where the guilty party does not manifest true repentance, if the injured party can obtain a divorce without making their own cases, and that of their children, if they have them, worse by so doing, they should be free. Second, if they will be liable to place themselves and their children in worse condition by a divorce, we know of no scripture that will make the innocent party guilty by remaining. Third, time and labor and prayer and patience and faith in a godly life might work a reform. To live with one who has broken the marriage vows and is covered all over with the disgrace and shame of guilty love and realize it's not, is an eating canker to the soul. And yet a divorce is a lifelong hurtful sore. God pity the innocent party. Marriage shall be considered well before contracted. Fourth, why, oh why, will men and women who might be respectable and good and reach heaven at last sell themselves to the devil so cheap, wound their bosom friends, disgrace their families, bring a reproach upon the cause, and go to hell at last? God have mercy. Why will not those who are overtaken in crime manifest repentance proportionate to the enormity of their crime and fly to Christ for mercy and heal, as far as possible, the wounds they have made? Fifth, but if they will not do as they should, and if the innocent have forfeited the legal right to a divorce by living with the guilty after his guilt is known, we do not see that sin rests upon the innocent in remaining, and her moral right in departing seems questionable, if her health and life be not greatly endangered in so remaining. So, when you read this, you have a confusion in your mind. You don't know what is this for a story. This is my impression when I read it, if I don't have the completely context. Okay, let me explain to you. You have here in a short diagram. We have here 3 cases, 3 persons involved in this history. So we have Albert Day. He was an elder of the church in Monterey Church, Michigan. So he was married at the beginning. I explained the story from the beginning. After he became a widower, but at the beginning he was married. So we have Albert Day and his wife. And we have Victor Johnson and his wife. So we have 2 couples here. Albert Day was the elder of the church, was not a minister, was an ordained elder. And during the time that his wife was alive, he showed appreciation and love to the wife of Victor Johnson. It's not clear if they have any intimate relationship, but at least was clear that he, Albert Day, showed appreciation to the wife of Victor Johnson. Why this relationship began? Victor Johnson was a member of the church. All the 4 were members of the church. But Victor Johnson fell in different occasions in sin because of alcohol and because of tobacco, and was disfellowship from the church. And then he came back to church. And all these problems that she had, the wife of Victor Johnson, was explained to Albert Day, because he was the elder of the church. So it was a very difficult situation in the marriage of Victor Johnson. But Victor Johnson loved her wife. But their wife began to be disappointed with him, and because of this counseling that began between the wife of Victor Johnson and Albert Day, a kind of relationship appeared that give an appearance of evil. This is like Sister White mentioned. It's not proof that anything happened between the both of them, but appearance of evil was clear. Then, in this condition, that the wife of Victor Johnson came closer and closer to Albert Day and take distance from his own husband, Sister White write to both in separate letters. One letter to Albert Day saying, you are an elder of the church, and you are not supposed to have this intimacy relationship with a sister, no matter what kind of problem she has. So please take care of this thing and don't give any appearance of evil. At the same time, she wrote another letter to the wife of Victor Johnson and says, you knew from the beginning when you married him that he had this weakness, alcohol and tobacco. And when you married with him, you made your own duty to help him to overcome this and was functioning. The problem is that now you always accuse him, you always speak bad with him and against him, and he fall more in this kind of wrong habits. So she write to her, please help him. Concentrate and focus yourself to help him to overcome this weakness, because he is a good man, but is weak in this point, and he loves you. So please don't try to bring him down. Help him. Unfortunately, the wife of Victor Johnson don't follow this counsel and come closer and closer to Albert Day, also Albert Day. Now, the wife of Albert Day passed away. then the wife of Victor Johnson decided to divorce her husband and then married with Albert Day, because that was the plan. And then this is the context why Sister White wrote this, what we have here. But if you don't know all the story, you don't understand anything. What is this about? No idea. Therefore, the point was the following. This began with an evil appearance during the time when Albert Day was married. At the same time, the wife of Victor Johnson was not helping him at all, even deal with him very badly in such a way that he even fell more deeply in the consumption of alcohol and tobacco. So, in the external appearance, she was a victim because he was the one that left the church, that was disfellowship, that fell in alcohol and tobacco. Sister White wrote to her, you are the reason why he fell again in this condition. It's true that he's weak, but he overcome this. And you was a happy family with him. But now you rejected him, you always complain against him, you deal with him very badly, and then he fall again in the consumption of alcohol and tobacco. And then you give all this report to the church so that the people have pity for you, and then will be possible that you divorce and then you married with Albert Day. So this is the completely context. And then Sister White say, this is not right. Albert Day have the right to marry again because she was a widower, but not with this sister, because all the context that I already mentioned to you. Yeah? So this is the reason why is all this explanation that become also an article, because that was like a public scandal among the church in the North States, because he was an ordained elder in the church, and all this was going on. If you want to read a more extended version, you can read in manuscripts 17, manuscript release, volume 17, 1863. Or you can have also part of it in the Review and Herald, March 24, 1868. Okay. This is March 24, 1868, Review and Herald. These are not the only case that we have in they are not only these cases that we find in the Adventist home that are the only ones. They are other cases. Yeah? The reason why we are not dealing with them now, because this is not real the subject, we have used only as an example how things can be manipulated and came to a completely wrong view and to lead the people to a wrong conclusion. So, which are the reasons, according to this, that we find in this chapter for divorce?
For desecration of the marriage vows. Mm-hmm. And also, what's the word?
Yes, this is correct, brother.
Yeah,
it's correct.
I'm just trying to think of another.
Yeah. Do you find any other reason?
What is it?
The desecration of the marriage vows.
Yeah. But it's the marriage bed.
Or marriage bed, yeah.
Because the vows in the marriage is that everyone will take care of the other one, and we see cases here that was not the as need to be. But in any way, Sister White recommended to work out, to consecrate to the Lord and find a solution. For example, in the case that one part was not member of the church, is no reason. If the husband don't take care of the wife as supposed to be, to provide for the home, to be responsible for the home, to be the head of the home, because Sister White says, because we already consider one situation that he take very easy the life, and she was taking care of everything. And she said, this is a mistake. And you, our husband, need to be the head, and you are the one to take care of the family. You need to provide for the family, and then your wife will respect you. So this is part of the marriage vow, but she never considered this as a reason for divorce. Yeah? It's the desecration of the marriage bed. Okay?
According to the way the chapter is set up, though, it seems that someone would get the impression also that a person who had been mistreated, like a mistreated wife, would have the right to leave as well, and the right to separate and divorce.
Yes. And this is true. It's saying there.
Yeah.
But they need to do everything possible to solve the situation. And if it's not possible, like in the case from the first wife of Harper, was not possible, then Sister White say, I understand you, I accept your decision, and this is done. And tell to him you need to accept it also, the decision of your wife, yeah? To remain separated. So, why do you think that the people, when they read this, they think divorce and remarriage? Because it's not the title of the chapter, but the people see this in this light.
I guess maybe they think that when they're divorced, they're free.
This is the problem. When a person is divorced, he is not declared single. No according to the law. You are not single if you are divorced. You are divorced. You are not single. Single are when you never married and never divorced. Then you are single. And this is a completely wrong approach. When a person came to the church, we ask, which is your situation? And the person say, yeah, widower, and or I divorced, or I am single, or I married. But if it's divorced, it's not single according to the law. It's not. A divorcee person is not a single person, and we need to understand this. And a divorcee person is not automatically a remarriage person, a potential remarriage person. These don't exist in the Bible and the testimonies. And we need to disassociate these concepts together. And unfortunately, the way how this chapter is presented associated this. Divorce and remarriage belong together. So you divorce, automatically you are an optional person in the list of the remarriage possibilities for you. And it's not the case. Okay? Questions about this? Yes, please.
The last few points are not too clear to me, the last section and the last few points, but I guess maybe if I read over them again, I'll come to a clearer understanding.
Yes. So
I just don't see any logical conclusion from it.
Yeah, because you need to read the completely article.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing. You need to go to Review and Herald, March 24, 1868. You have already the context. You have the 4 persons involved in this case, and then you will have the conclusion of it. Okay? So I repeated, the subject of our study is not divorce and remarriage. We have used this example only to clarify you how careful you need to consider how the book is set up and if it's a compiled book or is original book, and if it's compiled when and how is the content of the book presented. This is the idea. This is the reason why we have considered until now vegetarianism also. And now this is another example. And then we will go to our third example, is Baker's letter. Okay? And this is a subject that is only one letter. Also, it's different kinds of letters, a change of correspondence, but everything has to do with correspondence. And this is our third example. And let us consider the point. So letter Baker is considered for many people and use part of this letter to prove that Jesus, when he was on this earth, was not as we are. This is the reason. So they say Jesus came to this earth and he was human, but not human as you and me. Another kind of human, but not exactly the same. This is the point that people use the letter Baker. So have to do with the nature, the human nature of Christ. And this is a doctrinal point as the other two that we have considered. And we will consider this in another aspect, how you can study something. So this is third example. We are going to consider a historical perspective. What Sister White wrote before she wrote the letter to Baker. Okay? And as I told you, have to do with the human nature of Jesus. So in 1858, Jesus also told them that he should take man's fallen nature and his strength will not be even equal with theirs. So in 1858, in the early years, Sister White writes very clearly that Jesus was taking man's fallen nature, because another aspect of the nature of Jesus on this earth that are people believe, some people believe, that he came in human nature, but the human nature before the fall. So came with the human nature of Adam, because Adam was human when he was created. But he was without sin. He was perfect according to the biblical and the report of the Spirit of Prophecy. So he was perfect in character, no spot of sin in him, no tendency of sin. He was absolutely perfect in his human nature before the fall. So one section of the Advent believers believe that Jesus came with the human nature of Adam before the fall. And then in 1858, Sister White wrote Spiritual Gifts, Volume 1, page 25, that was after the Desire of Ages, that he should take man's fallen nature. So it's clear that the nature that Jesus had when he was on the earth was a fallen one. So he didn't came with the perfect human nature of Adam before the fall, but with the fallen human nature after the fall. And even more. And his strength will not be even equal with theirs. Now, in 1864, it was in the order of God that Christ should take upon himself the form and nature of fallen men, because another diversity of the idea is that Jesus came with the human nature, but only in appearance. So he was looking like a human, but he was in reality not taking the human nature as we have today. And for this testimony 1864 says that he take upon himself the form and nature of fallen men. So he was outside and inside with the fallen new human nature. The form and the nature, both. The appearance was a real appearance, was not an imagination. He had the form and he had the nature, both, without doubt about this. Now, this letter from Sister White to W.L. Baker and wife, because the letter was addressed to both of them, was sent in 1895. Therefore, another aspect how you can deal with doctrinal points is to consider how the doctrine developed in time. And this is the reason why I mentioned to you these two testimonies that were before 1895, to be clear and to understand the context that Sister White wrote to Baker. Okay? Now let us go on with this. In 1870, she wrote, "The great burden bearer who took our nature that he might understand how to sympathize with our frailty." So again, the confirmation, our nature. 1873, Christ condescended to take humanity, and thus he united his interest with the fallen sons and daughters of Adam here below. So, is the nature of Adam when?
After the fall.
Yes. According to the condition of the human nature when he arrived, 4,000 years after the fall. This kind of nature he took upon him. So it's no doubt that a position was taken clearly even before the letter to Baker was written down. And why was needed that he took the human nature in the condition as the human was after 4,000 years that the fall happened? In order to understand and to sympathize. Okay? Let us go on. 1874. Through his humiliation and poverty, Christ will identify himself with the wickedness of the fallen race. The great work of redemption could be carried out only by the Redeemer taking the place of fallen Adam. Again, the confirmation. The King of Glory proposed to humble himself to fallen humanity. He will take man's fallen nature. 3 times in this article. I have cut some of the sections. If you want, you can read the completely Review and Herald. But 3 times she repeated in the same article that he took the man's fallen nature. Okay? 1875. Satan showed his knowledge of the weak points of the human heart and put forth his utmost power to take advantage of the weakness of the humanity which Christ had assumed in order to overcome his temptations on man's account. So, what kind of humanity Jesus took? The weakness, yes. Why Satan rejoiced when he received the news that Jesus is coming as a baby and will be born on this earth? Why he rejoiced? Extremely, say the testimonies even.
Because he thought this was his opportunity to destroy Jesus and it'd be easy to make him fall in the human form.
Yes. If he knew it, that was God, he knew no chance for him. No chance for him because he can never overcome God. Because Satan is a created being. But he rejoiced with the possibility that he was able to tempt him. And not only to tempt, but that he also fall. Because temptation have not purpose if is no way to fall. Because temptation is the act that wish to lead you to sin. But temptation is not sin. If with the help of the Lord you resist and you overcome, the temptation is put aside and you don't fall in sin. And this is the case of Jesus. Jesus resisted and Jesus overcome the sin. And Satan knew that the human nature that Jesus took upon himself allowed him to fall. And this is the reason why he tempted him, because he knew that it's possible, that this can happen because of the nature that Jesus took upon himself. 1879, he, Satan, told his angels that when Jesus should take fallen man's nature, he will overpower him. So he was convinced that he will overpower him because his logical way of thinking was the following. If he overcame Adam in human nature, perfect human nature, no tendency to sin, not after 40,000 years of degeneration of the human race. That was the first human being, perfect in everything, and he fall. How much easier will be to overcome somebody that came with the human nature after 4,000 years of degeneration? So he was convinced. No doubt he could overpower him. 1881. Our Redeemer perfectly understood the wants of humanity. He who condescended to take upon himself man's nature was acquainted with man's weakness. Christ took upon himself our infirmities, and in the weakness of humanity, he needed to seek strength from his Father. Now, Jesus overcame. How? With right. Not with his divine power, not with his own. He needed to overcome in the same way as every one of us can overcome. He never used his divine power to help himself or to deliver himself from any danger or temptation. So he used the same source of power that everyone has the right to use. And this is the strength from his Father. So he didn't have any supernatural power that you don't have. It's exactly the same, because he came to establish a pattern, to let us know that it's possible to overcome with the help of heaven. 1882. His work was in behalf of fallen men. He assumed our nature that he might suffer in our state. 1883. Jesus took upon himself man's nature, that he may leave a pattern for humanity. Complete. Our fallen nature must be purified. 1885. He was made like unto his brethren with the same, this is very important, with the same susceptibilities, mental and physical. This is very strong statement from the Review and Herald, February 10, 1885. With the same susceptibilities, mental and physical, with the same. 1886, he might have helped his human nature to withstand the inroads of disease by pouring from his divine nature vitality and undecaying vigor to the human. But he humbled himself to man's nature. And therefore, the suffering of Jesus was greater that never can be ours. Because we don't have the power to do something. We need to receive. Jesus restricted himself to use his own power and made himself dependent of the Father as we need to be. So in this case, he suffered double as we have, and we have testimonies for it. Yes?
You have 80, 86, and the reference is 80, 80.
Sorry, yeah, this is a mistake. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is 1887. This is the correct, thank you. Then 1888, he who was one with the Father stepped down from the glorious throne in heaven, laid aside his royal robe and crown, and clothed his divinity with humanity, that bringing himself to the level of man's feeble faculties. The highest gift that heaven could bestow was giving to ransom fallen humanity. The most important point here is thus bringing himself to the level of men's feeble faculties, the same level. (1889). The divine Son of God, who had come from heaven and assumed a fallen nature, he took upon him our nature that he might reach men in his fallen condition. He came to unite the fallen race with himself. 1891. In his humanity, he has become acquainted with all the difficulties that beset humanity. 1892. He consented to take the habiliments of humanity to become one with the fallen race. Who can define habiliments? What is this?
I've never seen that word before.
Yes. What does mean?
Like a natural habits.
Okay, somebody have an online dictionary or something? Please look for it.
I think it means like stumbling, like a stumbling block or obstacle.
Okay, look for it, please. This is part of your homework. Okay? 1893. His human nature was created. This is very powerful statement. His human nature was created. Because God cannot be created. God don't have any origin, not end. Okay, the divine nature of Jesus is not created because divinity cannot be created, but the human nature was created. Okay? It did not even possess the angelic powers. It was human, identical with our own. Identical, not similar, not like, it's identical. A human body and a human mind were his. He was bone of our bone and flesh of our flesh. Christ humbled himself to the nature of human, except without the taint of sin. So in everything, he had the same. Which is the difference? The only thing that he was not the same.
No taint of sin.
He never sinned. This is the difference. Okay? (1894). Human weakness, human necessities were upon him. He did not come to our world as an angel of glory, but as a man. He was made in the likeness of sinful flesh, and condemned sin in the flesh. With his human arm he encircled the race, and with his divine arm he grasped the throne of the infinite, linked men with God and earth with heaven. We need to close here, to continue next day with the help of the Lord. The point why I have presented this way, this example to you, is that you know also different ways how you can approach a subject. So it's not only that you consider what kind of publication, the chronological order, if it's a compiled work, how this happened. This is one method to do it. This is another method to do it. This is the historical panorama. If you realize how we have begun here, we will continue. We have placed first located, that is a letter, issued from 1895 and deal with a doctrinal matter. Yeah? So, because it's a doctrinal matter, we wish to know which was the message from the Lord related to this subject before this letter appeared. And this is the reason why we went back to the first time that we find a mention about this topic, and it's 1858. So this historical perspective is another approach, another way how to research in the spirit of prophecy in order to have the completely doctrinal context, not only the publishing context and the content himself, but also the doctrinal context. And for this we need to establish also a chronological line for the historical perspective. And this is the reason why here we have another way how to approach a problem. So let us kneel down and close with a voluntary prayer, please.